In a case of what have you done for me lately, Dean Lombardi and Daryl Sutter are both out of work. I find that a little surprising. Now, you can talk about Lombardi and mistakes he's made. But really, it wasn't his fault Jonathan Quick got hurt. If Quick's in the LA lineup all year, they're in the playoffs. Quick's a fantastic goaltender. If Anze Kopitar decided to, play hockey in the first couple of months like he did in the last couple of months of the season, the Kings are in the playoffs. He got Iginla at the deadline, and he got Bishop at the deadline. Iginla played really, really well for the Kings. Lots of goals. It wasn't Iginla's fault. Iginla helped them score more. Bishop's a good goaltender. I understand why he did it. He didn't mortgage the future to do it either. Tampa didn't make the playoffs either, so no harm, no foul. Sutter is a head-scratcher too. The Kings were slow. Really slow. They couldn't get rid of Dustin Brown's contract. They couldn't get rid of Marian Gaborik. What are you going to do? Bury them in the minors? That's not something a professional organization can get away with. Maybe with one or the other, maybe, but not likely. Brown was with them when they won 2 Stanley Cups. And they've won 2 Stanley Cups with that coach and GM. They were holding up the Stanley Cup less than 3 years ago. Now they're out of work. Rob Blake's been promoted to be the GM. Rob Blake's been an assistant. He's never been a GM. I'm always interested when a guy who was a star in the NHL becomes a GM. Because, yes, it worked with Yzerman. But a lot of the time, the star players struggle. Not saying Blake will. Hopefully, Blake learned a lot from Lombardi. Dean Lombardi's a good GM, though. He just had a team that underachieved. And you could point to 2 years out of the last 3, okay, but I would also point to that Stanley Cup in 2014. And the Stanley Cup in 2012. I actually kind of surprised because I had figured that they'd give Sutter and Lombardi a year to turn it around. It's not going to be easy to turn the Kings around. When your team is slow and overpaid, that's a horrible combination. You can be one or the other, not both. Because if your players are slow and overpaid, nobody wants them. When I watched the Kings play the Canucks, I said right off the bat to Yvonne, I said, if the Canucks are smart, they'll use their speed against the Kings. The Kings played a very physical game, though, and the Kings wore the Canucks down pretty quickly. That's the Kings' game, is physical. If you have a team that's big and talented, the Kings can't keep up with them. Not without Jonathan Quick in net. This was a team that went with Peter Budaj for a lot of the season, and Budaj was, did yeoman's work, but he's not Jonathan Quick. And I honestly find it really weird that Lombardi and Sutter are both out of work right now. They won't be out of work for long. I would honestly say that with Daryl Sutter out of work, I could see Vegas scooping him up. Absolutely. I could see Vegas scooping up Sutter. Because Daryl Sutter's a good guy, good sense of humor. Always good for a quote. Level-headed, for the most part. He's got his temper, but he knows when to use it. I think he's got a good temperament for an expansion franchise. Vegas, hop, skip, and a jump from Alberta, where he's from. Well, his family is. It might be a really good fit. This is why Vegas hasn't announced a head coach yet, because they know when the season ends, heads are going to roll. And after the first round of the playoffs, heads are going to roll again. Because certain coaches who they got to win in the playoffs, if they don't, They're out. It's a tough job. I would hate to be a coach. I would hate to be a coach. You look at the coaches that were fired. Lindy Ruff didn't have a goaltender. Willie Desjardins didn't have an NHL roster for half the season. Daryl Sutter, no speed. A team that kind of got lazy over the last couple of seasons. I don't look at any of the coaches that get fired today and say, oh, he's a bad coach. I used to. Oh, yes. I look way back when and say, oh, that's a bad coach. Like, a person could say, well, what about Tom Rowe in Florida? I don't count Tom Rowe as a coach. Tom Rowe was coaching in Florida because he didn't have a choice. With the way that Gallant was fired, you're going to have a very hard time finding a coach who's going to go, oh, I'll take that job. You left a respected veteran of the NHL standing at the roadside after you fired him? Me? Next, please? So Rowe is an exception. I'm not even talking about him being out of work because he's collateral damage. Sutter, Desjardins, and Ruff. Sutter's got a cup. Lindy Ruff got Dallas to the first place spot last year in the Central, and Desjardins took a mishmash Canuck team and got them back to the playoffs last year. They're not bad coaches. They take the fall because the teams missed the playoffs. And I really believe Sutter's going to hit the ground running wherever he ends up. But Vegas makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Because McPhee wants a veteran coach and he wants to win quick. And the kind of kids he's talking about picking up and the kind of he wants to play, from what I've read, he wants to play an up-tempo style and he wants his team to be competitive right off the crack. Then get Daryl Sutter. Can't get Brian Sutter. He's coaching the Red Deer Rebels right now. Well, you could, I guess, if you really want Sutter. Is that Brent Sutter? That might be Brent Sutter. Brian Sutter, I don't think is coaching anywhere right now. Sutter's coach a lot. But, all that aside, Daryl Sutter is going to find work. I can't see him being out of work. Not for very long. He's a damn good coach. And his press conferences during the Kings' runs to the Cup in 2012 and 2014, there were some great sound bites from that. The guy is really genuinely funny. And he's a dry funny. Which makes him even funnier. I think, you have your class clown that's going to sit in the corner and tell 50, 60 jokes, and maybe 2 or 3 of them are going to hit. So maybe you remember those instead of the ones that don't hit. Sutter's the guy who kind of mumbles, and then a joke comes out, and you go, that was funny. And then he goes back to a little bit of a mumble, and you go, wait, no, that was he's really funny. And Sutter is honest, and he's blunt. He's a good coach for an expansion team. He is. So, Daryl, if you see this and you want to use this for your resume, go right on ahead. I don't have a problem with that. Anyways, this didn't turn out to be the kind of videos today I'd expected to be doing, but then again, I wasn't thinking. I wasn't thinking about the fact that, every coach gets fired the day after the season ends, and it's always a bloodbath right after the season. It is rough. And we'll see how this works out for Sutter. We'll see how it works out for Lombardi. There's going to be teams that get rid of GMs too. I'm thinking Dallas. If Jim Nill gets the boot in Dallas and they bring in Dean Lombardi, I'm going to do a happy dance. Because I think Lombardi could fix what's wrong in Dallas. Because he understood at the trade deadline, I need strong goaltending, and I don't know if Quick's going to stay healthy, so I'm going to add Bishop. The move didn't work out, but I understood what he was doing. And having a GM in Dallas that understands, gee, maybe I should shore up the goaltending, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. And, again, I think both guys get jobs. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Where do you think Sutter ends up? Does he just leave hockey? What about Lombardi? Where does he end up? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through too. And thank you very much for watching.